a Faux 66, where we learn to be a better gamer. I got my big, awesome Day 9 TV shirt on, which you can get at jinx.com. And for any of you who did not know, all the people who run that company are awesome. They're the most hardcore gamers I think I have met in a long time. So, hats off to you. Fist pump, sort of like General Rapier type motions. Yes! In very weird news, it's Monday, but we're not doing a Fun Day Monday today. I actually think that this is the first time in probably a year and a half that it has been a Monday Daily that has occurred with no Fun Day Monday on it. Now, why is that? It is because I'm about to embark upon a long series of epic travels. I'll be here today, and then I'll be in Austin, Texas next week, actually in a few days, for the upcoming Red Bull Battlegrounds tournament, and after that I'll be in Florida for the Collegiate Star League Grand Finals, casting that live, so just a lot of being not home that's coming up lately. So, what we're going to be dedicating today, Tuesday, and Wednesday to is the pump up for the upcoming Red Bull Battlegrounds tournament, which you'll note is Memorial Day weekend and all that jazz. All the information should be below in Twitch TV. If you just go to twitch.tv/day9tv, you will see all the info links down there. If you want to come, I'd love to see you. Remember, anyone who shows up earns at least one high five from me. But the focus on these dailies is going to be on the players who will be playing in that tournament. As you can see, the tourney is fairly stacked with players all the way from pretty much anywhere. And rather than just dump them on you the day of the tournament, we're going to be doing a little bit of introduction to these players. Starting in group number 1, the focus of today will be QuanticIllusion, who's one of these players who didn't really seem to be, I would almost say even recognized or noticed probably 3-4 months ago. But then all of a sudden, he went to IPL 4 and crushed through a whole bunch of notable top Korean players. I think he beat, I want to say it was Ryung he beat. If that's wrong, forgive me. But he definitely beat Liquid Zenio. He beat 3 GSL Code S players, one of each race, and almost qualified for the big finals. He made it all the way to the round 8, which was super sick. And as a result, people are now going, who is that QuanticIllusion fellow? My glasses will not get clean, so I'm going to continue to clean them. So, QuanticIllusion will be the focus of today's daily. In particular, he has this really weird set of build orders that he uses, and we're going to watch 2 games that shows those weird openings, and tons of attacking start to finish. The entire build, the entire strategy is structured towards attack, 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 but not in a stupid way. And I want to emphasize how hard it is not to attack and be stupid at the same time. Those tend to flow well together. And I'm sure everyone has had this feeling where you get this bubbling inside of you, you know? Like when you look at that beautiful girl and you realize that she's the one that, oh, you get these butterflies and you think, I can attack right now and I can win. And you attack and you get completely Hulk smashed and your face is lying shattered on the floor and you're thinking, I'll just turtle next time. And then we end up with players who end up in long, super, ultra, mega passive, non-attacking games, and that's never fun. Illusion, on the other hand, is a brilliant attacking player, so we'll look at that throughout. Now, we're going to be looking at his Terran versus Zerg today, because as you will note in his group, he has both Stephano and Violet. And those are 2 really, really, really good Zerg players. Violet recently winning MLG, Stephano recently winning the heart of players like Jaedong. So we're going to be looking at the way that Illusion is going to deal with a variety of things. That was one of the cleanest intros I've ever done. May I take a moment to just high-five myself? Oh my god! Generally, I botch at least 3 or 4 times in the middle of an introduction, but that one wasn't that horrible. You know you're in a good spot in life when you celebrate not awful. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that intro was not awful. Let's hop into this game. It's going to be QuanticIllusion versus Liquid Sheth, and as you'll note, Sheth is another one of the players who is in attendance of this LAN event. He is in group number 2, tragically up in a team kill situation. And what we're going to look at in this game is first step, the thing that we want to note in game number 1, is the unusualness of Illusion's build, how wacky and weird and wild, and all things beginning with the letter W. Oh no, I gotta unconfine the mouse cursor. Excellent. Unconfining the mouse cursor is going to be the new sound not enabled for the Day 9 Daily. Excellent. But the map is going to be on Antigua Shipyard. You'll notice pretty much perfect worker pairing. None of these mineral patches are even used. I don't know about you, but I'm sure many people are familiar with the concept of worker pairing, where we have two workers equally exchanging time on a mineral field to optimize our income rate. It gives you an extra 10-15 minerals every minute or two, so it kind of slowly builds up. It's pretty neat. But I'm sure this has happened to you, where you spend so long trying to pair those workers up. And as they're doing their little pairing thing, then all of a sudden one just wanders off. Makes me want to scream. I actually yell at my workers. I don't talk at all. I don't talk to the player. I don't talk out loud, except when my worker pairing fails. And then I'm like, I spent so long working with you. I hate you so much. Frustrates me to all hell. So Illusion already doing some fairly good techniques. We see that he is going to be going, I'll just tell you right now, he's going to be going for the Reactor Hellion build. This is a little bit better of a placement than the barracks in the middle, because if we place the barracks in the middle, then we have to rearrange it. But here, we can easily plant the reactor there. Players are increasingly starting to do wall-offs that look like this, just due to that reason. So it looks like now Illusion is going to be building his Reactor Hellion. Always build the 2 Marines and then do things with them. Sure, killing off in this particular circumstance, but given the fact that this is the recent patch... Oh, actually, I do want to talk about that. The patch is out in the 2 games we've seen. So these 2 games were played within the last week. The patch is having a stupidly powerful impact on the metagame situation. At the recent MLG, in the upper bracket, Zergs only lost to Zergs, with 2 exceptions. Inori managed to take down Lucira, and Pult took down a whole bunch of Zergs on his own. But other than that, Zergs only lost to other Zergs, and that's why we ended up with a top 3 Zerg contingent of Stephano, Violet, and Symbol? Is it Symbol? Yep. Yeah, it should be Symbol. For some reason I want to say Curious, but I don't think it's Curious. It should be Symbol. It's Symbol, guys. It's Symbol. So now what players are almost unanimously doing is just going all the way to 4 queens right at the start of the game because of this range 5 queen. Range 5 queen is having a gigantic impact on everything. So how do we cope with that, with the fact that we can't really do a lot of early aggression in the same way that we used to? Well, Illusion is still going to be doing the same regular old Reactor Hellion opening. Same old Reactor Hellion opening. Right now, it looks like Illusion is just checking around this area, wants to make sure that there's no third that goes down. Just general good play. But what we'll see is that there's actually not too gigantic of an impact on our opening build order when we want to go for the Hellions. Sure, we can't really pick off queens, but we certainly can abate the creep spread a good bit, contain against Zerglings, and all that other good jazz. But here's the unusual moment in Illusion's play, where we see a second refinery started even before the initial 2 Hellions are gone. The traditional play that we'll see the Terran players make is to add on a tech lab, so that way they can get the stim and do a follow-up Marine with stim and Hellion timing push. But no, we see this very unorthodox early second gas. The only time this is common is if you're going to be going starport, straight to Banshee. Even then, players will prefer to delay that just a little bit. So what is Illusion going to do? Still building the Hellions 2 at a time. We'll upgrade this to an orbital command. Stockpiling super duper amounts of gas. And the double engineering bay. Does make up to 6 Hellions. I will say that if you are doing any sort of follow-up aggression that is tech lab focused, that is combat shield with Marines, stim with Marines, doing this Pult style fast push, unless you're going for tanks, basically, you should always get 6. I'm increasingly of this opinion that 6 is kind of the money amount of Hellions where you just can't be messed with. If you're going bomber style, where you're going to be swapping the tech lab back to the factory and you're going to be giving the reactor to the barracks so you can do double Marine single tank production, then it's fine to stop at 2 or 4. Totally fine. But in recent times, players have been almost always going for 6, as opposed to what it was for probably about a year, which is all the way up to 4.
Add-on complete.
So we're seeing Illusion go for the good old triple play. He's going to be getting 1-1 upgrades. He's going to be trying to deny this third as long as possible. Getting stim, 1-1 upgrades coming up. The economy timing is a little bit off. I do think that we could have delayed this second gas until as these two things were building, but still the emphasis on all these upgrades really early on is super cool. I will note right off the bat 2 things. If you are going for, okay, I'll note 1 thing and 2 things come out of this. If you are ever going for a double upgrade, you are not going to try to do anything interesting at 1-1. It's always going to be at 2-2. Always. That's when the important, interesting stuff happens. Why is that? If you invest hard in 1-1 early on as Terran, you just don't have any units when 1-1 is finished. And if you do have the units, you don't have all the critical upgrades done for them. So, 2-2 is really when the interesting stuff happens. As a result, what you'll note when you do these builds is that you spend a lot of gas because you get 1-1 fast and then 2-2 really fast. So the 2 things I want to note. 1, you ain't doing anything timing push-wise when 1-1 is finished. If you want to do a timing push, just get a single engineering bay. And also, since we are going for the 2-2 quickly, we're just not going to have that many tanks when we do this play. Just really, it's physically not going to be good. So we're committing quite early on to a good mix of Marine Medevac Marauder. Super mobile. So as we can see, Illusion adds on the second barracks, is going straight for the starport and continues to try to contain. In terms of important timings, you will only be up against, or the layer will generally be wrapping up, and layer tech will be able to pop out at 10 minutes on 2 bases. 10 minutes. So literally for the next 90 seconds, we are in completely fine, safe, happy shape as Illusion. I do think, though, that this is smart to be getting the Marauder right off the bat, because the only thing that can really threaten us is a whole bunch of roaches slamming down our front door and ruining our day.
Add-on complete.
You're kind of noticing that Illusion has enough to be able to do some stuff, but not enough to have a whole bunch of buildings down to make units. All of this is a result of getting this double engineering bay really, really fast. And per usual, the very careful, well thought out building placement all around the edge. So right about now is when we're going to start getting concerned that our opponent Sheth could be doing some kind of push. We're getting our barracks down. I'll still note that this is crazy late. We literally only have 3 functioning buildings at this point. The factory isn't even doing anything. Almost always we'd have 5 functioning buildings. 3 barracks, a starport, and a factory with the tech lab add-on doing its stuff. I'll still emphasize again, we just are not going to be getting a lot of tanks and going for 1-1 upgrades. Look at our gas count. We're about to spend this on 2-2.
Ready for dust off.
But per usual, this is an amazingly good timing to hit right around 10 minutes. If he was going Mutilus, he's going to have to stay back and make sure he stays defended. This is the timing that was popularized by Pult, any sort of 6 Hellion Marine Marauder Medevac push, because he can't really have a lot of Mutilus out, he can't really have a lot of any of that stuff out. He's just going to be, so we can easily retreat if something comes up. Now this is kind of a cute play that we see out of Illusion. If I am going for 2-2, and Combat Shield, look at how stupidly broke I am in the gas department. So yeah, I don't need that starport to be on the reactor anymore. This reactor starport only allows me to get these medevacs up early on. Just a pair of medevacs is all we really want. This was totally flubbed beyond belief. And this is indeed one of these dangers of trying to do this sort of stuff. But this example right here, where we were able to go, oh my god, too many Zerglings, pick up, run away, is the clear example of why we like to do this push. We can always pick up and run back if need be. So right on. Following this, we're going to be going to the command center, and last but not least, we get the tanks up.
Add-on.
Tanks and Factory is the last thing we really invest in with this build. So this is where I want to stop for a moment and just say, ladies and gentlemen, let us reflect on what we have seen. What we've seen thus far is the general weirdness of this play. The kind of unusual style of going for this really quick double upgrades, how it blends somewhat with this Pult style of hitting right around the 10-minute mark. Generally 9:30 is kind of when you want to go for that timing. So we've just kind of seen what I would describe as an unusual build, but with the units we haven't really seen any unusual play. Hasn't been anything particularly noteworthy. We did the standard push with the Hellions, then we did the standard push with the Hellion Medevac Marine Marauder. Now as we start advancing on, I want to take note of how aggressively Illusion positions himself all game long. Ridiculously aggressively, non-stop. And of course many people saying things like, hey, why isn't he vulnerable to a Baneling bust? Fortunately, this exact thing ends up happening right away. This is one of the benefits of having these Hellions up and wanting to keep them alive all game long, is that they will help abate a good chunk of damage in a situation like this. And I'm going to say something very weird. This, if you can survive through it, is the ideal scenario for Illusion's style of play. Why? Any of these big busts, even though they're a real pain in the ass to deal with, once they're done, they finish right on time with our 2-2 being done. So even though Liquid Chef did a great job with his 1-1 timing, every Zerg is going to be scrambling to make a whole bunch of Ling Baneling, but they're only going to have small numbers. And in small numbers, Marines with upgrades, Medevacs, and Marauders are amazingly good. So this is just some generally sick control by Illusion. Obviously, we want the Marauders to take as little damage as, or the Marines to take as little damage as possible, but Illusion did an amazing job just doing some very calm roundabout maneuvering, and we see that Chef actually lost huge in that attack. Like super mega giga huge. As I come to the production tab, we're going to immediately see the problems that we have as a Zerg player.
Upgrade.
8 Marines being produced at a time. 2-2 upgrades now finished. When a fourth and fifth medevac pop out, we're just going to be marching right out onto the field. Now, the only thing that we're super scared of is being encountered by a bunch of Mutiling, but even then, we're sort of anticipating that the Mutilous Zergling will have to be defensive. We're really pleased about any potential counterattack because we're completely holed up. We have a bunker here, happy and ready to rock. And when we move out, we'll only put down one depot and probably rally the rest here. With super aggressive positioning, and this is one of the cool aspects of what Illusion's going to do. What do most Terran players do right now? Most of the time you'll see a Terran player instantly just go Marine, Tank, Medevac. But no, we have Thors being produced. Illusion is going to be going crazy aggressive. If he's against an Infestor Ling style, he's just going to be trying to push back and contain this Infestor Ling style with his stuff in the middle. Against Mutalisks, well, that's a little bit of a problem because I can't lift up and retreat. The Mutalisks will kill me, so I'm just going to start incorporating Thors. In other words, Illusion is swapping the damage output of the tanks with just the sheer macro advantage of getting a lot of Marauders and Thors with a ton of Marines. So I'm going to wrap up part 1 now. We've already seen some crazy build opening, and then for the remaining part of this game, we're going to see some pretty nuts aggression. And also in part 2, we're going to start looking at the second game of Illusion today, where we'll see a weird as hell opening, like one of the weirder openings I've seen. Like everything lines up nicely, but it's still odd. We're going to be looking at that opening, and also, again, this sort of repeated aggression. So we'll be back soon.